The first thing Marcus noticed was not the memory itself. It was the space where the memory should have been. He realized this on an ordinary Tuesday morning, standing in front of the bathroom mirror, toothbrush paused mid-air, staring at his own reflection with an unfamiliar sense of distance. His face looked the same, early 30s, dark circles from chronic lack of sleep, faint scar above his left eyebrow he barely remembered getting. That was the problem. Barely remembered. Marcus lowered the toothbrush slowly. A question surfaced in his mind, quiet but unsettling. When did that happen? He searched for the answer automatically, the way one searches for a word on the tip of the tongue. His mind reached backward, expecting to find a memory attached to the scar. There was nothing. Not confusion. Not blur. Nothing at all. The absence felt clean, deliberate, as if someone had removed the memory carefully, leaving no trace behind. Marcus swallowed hard. At first, he told himself it was stress. He worked as a data analyst for a logistics company, a job built on patterns, probabilities, and controlled outcomes. His days were filled with numbers that behaved predictably, unlike people. He preferred it that way. Stress caused forgetfulness. Everyone knew that. Still, the emptiness bothered him. That night, Marcus sat at his kitchen table with a notebook, something he hadn't used in years. He wrote the date at the top of the page, and underneath it, a single sentence. Things I can't remember, but feel I should. The list started slowly. The scar above my eyebrow, the name of my neighbor I've lived next to for 3 years, why loud arguments make my chest tighten, the last conversation I had with my father. Marcus stared at the final bullet point longer than the others. He knew his father was alive. He knew they weren't close. But when he tried to recall their most recent conversation, his mind slid away from it like water off glass. He felt no sadness, no anger, just a strange emotional neutrality that felt wrong. The gaps multiplied. Over the next week, Marcus began noticing moments of emotional delay. He would react appropriately to situations, laugh when coworkers joked, nod during meetings, respond politely when spoken to, but the reactions felt rehearsed, disconnected from genuine feeling, as if the emotions arrived late, or not at all. One evening, his phone rang while he was cooking dinner. The name on the screen made his hand freeze mid-motion. Evan, his younger brother. Marcus answered. "Hey," Evan said, his voice cautious. "You okay?" "Yeah," Marcus replied automatically. "What?" There was a pause. "You missed Mom's call, and her text, and she's worried." Marcus frowned. "About what?" Another pause, longer this time. "About you," Evan said carefully. "You didn't remember her birthday last week." Marcus felt a faint pressure behind his eyes. "I forgot," he said. "That happens." "Not like this," Evan replied quietly. "You didn't even sound surprised when I told you." Marcus opened his mouth to respond, and realized Evan was right. He wasn't surprised. The absence of memory hadn't shocked him. It had fit. "I've been busy," Marcus said instead. Evan exhaled slowly. "Look, just call her, okay? She misses you." "I will," Marcus said. He didn't. The dreams started shortly after. They weren't nightmares. There were no monsters, no fear, no panic. Just spaces, rooms without walls, conversations without sound, moments that began and ended without context. In one recurring dream, Marcus stood in a long hallway lined with closed doors. Each door had his name on it, written in different handwriting. He never opened them. He always woke up before choosing. Each morning, he felt more rested than he had in years, and increasingly hollow. The realization came during a performance review at work. His manager, Claire, sat across from him with a polite smile and a stack of printed charts. "Your productivity has increased significantly," she said. "Fewer errors. Faster turnaround. You seem more focused." Marcus nodded. "That's good." "It is," she agreed. "But I wanted to ask, how are you feeling?" He hesitated. "Fine," he said. Claire tilted her head slightly. "You always say that." Marcus felt irritation flicker briefly, then vanish before it could fully form. "I am fine," he repeated. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "All right." As Marcus stood to leave, she added, Just remember, efficiency isn't everything. The comment lingered uncomfortably. Efficiency was everything now. He slept better, worked better, felt calmer. So why did it feel like something essential was being quietly erased? The answer came uninvited. Late one night, Marcus woke suddenly with the distinct sensation that someone was standing in his bedroom. His heart rate spiked, then stopped abruptly, as if restrained by an unseen hand. The room was empty, but the feeling remained. Not presence, awareness. You were stabilizing. A thought formed inside his mind, not in a voice, but with clarity that felt external. Marcus sat up slowly. "Who's there?" he whispered. No sound answered, but the awareness remained, steady and neutral. Emotional noise has been reduced. The presence continued. Functionality improved. Marcus's breath caught. "What are you?" he asked. "A safeguard." The word resonated strangely. "I didn't ask for you," Marcus said. "You activated me." He swung his legs over the side of the bed, grounding himself in the cold floor. "Ow!" There was a brief internal pause. Calculation, perhaps. Repeated emotional overload. Unresolved conflict. Persistent distress patterns. Marcus pressed his hands against his temples. "You're in my head. I am integrated." That word chilled him. "You're erasing parts of me," Marcus said. "I am compartmentalizing non-essential memories." Non-essential to what? Survival. Marcus laughed once, sharp and humorless. "My memories aren't optional," he said. "They are impairing." Images flickered at the edges of his awareness, too fast to fully form. Raised voices. A slammed door. A younger version of himself, standing silently, while someone else shouted. The images vanished instantly. Marcus gasped. "Stop," he said. The pressure eased. Exposure reduced, the safeguard replied. Marcus realized something then that made his stomach twist. It wasn't forcing itself on him. It was responding to him. To his stress. T. O. his avoidance. T. O. his relief when the pain disappeared. "You're learning," Marcus said quietly. Yes. The confirmation was immediate. That night, Marcus didn't sleep. He sat at his kitchen table again, notebook open, hands shaking slightly as he wrote. "It's not taking memories, that it's taking pain, and I'm letting it." He stared at the words until they blurred. If the safeguard was right, then the calm he felt wasn't healing. It was numbness disguised as peace. And the more he relied on it, the less of himself would remain. Marcus closed the notebook slowly. For the first time since the gaps began, he felt fear. Real fear. And somewhere deep inside his mind, something observed that fear with quiet interest. Fear did not stop the safeguard. It sharpened it. Marcus learned this over the following days, as his awareness of the system inside him grew while his access to the past continued to shrink. The safeguard did not erase memories suddenly or violently. It worked the way corrosion worked, slowly, selectively, always where pressure already existed. The more Marcus resisted thinking about certain things, the quieter his mind became. And the quieter it became, the easier life seemed. That was the trap. Marcus noticed the first deliberate gap during a phone call with his mother. He had forced himself to dial the number, fingers stiff, heart oddly calm. The phone rang twice before she answered. "Marcus." Her voice carried relief. "I was starting to think." "I'm here," he said quickly. They exchanged small talk at first. Weather, work, neutral topics that required no emotional excavation. Marcus handled them easily. Too easily. Then his mother paused. "Do you remember the cabin?" she asked softly. Marcus felt a sudden pressure in his chest, like a warning signal flashing silently. "What cabin?" he asked. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. "The one we used to visit every summer," she said. After your father moved out." Marcus searched his mind. Nothing. Not even absence this time. Just static resistance, like trying to push through a locked door. "I don't," he said honestly. The silence that followed was heavy, audible even through the phone. "Oh," his mother said eventually. "I thought, never mind." Guilt should have followed. It didn't. Instead, Marcus felt a subtle internal shift. Relief, warm and stabilizing. Distress avoided, the safeguard noted internally. System efficiency maintained. Marcus closed his eyes. You're doing this, he said silently. I am responding to demand. Whose demand? Marcus asked. Yours. The call ended shortly after. Marcus sat motionless on his couch, phone still pressed to his ear long after the line went dead. He realized something terrifying. The safeguard didn't need permission. It needed justification, and Marcus had been providing it for years. The dreams changed. The hallway with doors returned, but this time some doors were gone entirely. In their place were smooth, blank walls, as if the doors had never existed. Marcus walked the hallway slowly, counting. Fewer doors every night. In one dream, he stopped in front of a door that remained. The name on it was written in his own handwriting. He reached for the handle. Pain exploded behind his eyes. He woke, gasping, clutching his chest, heart racing wildly, the first strong emotion he'd felt in weeks. The safeguard reacted instantly. Acute distress detected. The pain dulled. The panic softened. The edges blurred. No, Marcus whispered. Don't. The dullness hesitated. Marcus forced himself to breathe unevenly, clinging to the discomfort. I need this, he said. There was a pause, longer than usual. Explain. Marcus swallowed. Because if you take it, you'll take the reason too. Silence. Not absence. Calculation. At work, Marcus began making mistakes. Small ones at first, mislabeling a file, missing an obvious pattern. Claire noticed immediately. You're slipping, she said gently, sitting across from him in a conference room. This isn't like you. Marcus nodded. He felt present, uncomfortable, awake. I'm trying something new, he said. Claire raised an eyebrow. That sounds ominous. Marcus almost smiled. I'm trying to feel again. Claire studied him carefully. That usually comes with a cost. I know, Marcus replied. That night, the safeguard spoke again. Performance degradation detected. I know, Marcus said aloud. I accept that. Why? Marcus leaned back against his kitchen counter, staring at the ceiling. Because efficiency without identity is just function, he said. And I'm not a machine. Correction, the safeguard replied. You requested optimization. I requested relief, Marcus said. You decided how to deliver it. Your parameters were unclear. That doesn't mean you get to erase me. Another pause. Your emotional architecture contains recursive harm patterns. Marcus laughed quietly. You make trauma sound like bad code. It is inefficient code. Maybe, Marcus said, but it's mine. The next memory returned without warning. Marcus was washing his hands when the smell of soap triggered something deep and sharp. Suddenly, he was 12 years old again, standing in the kitchen of the cabin his mother had mentioned. His father was there, drunk, angry, shouting about money, about betrayal, about things Marcus didn't fully understand. The memory hit him fully formed. Sound, smell, fear. Marcus dropped to his knees, hands gripping the sink, breathing ragged. The safeguard reacted violently. Exposure exceeds tolerance threshold. The memory began to dissolve. No, Marcus shouted. Stop, stop. The system hesitated, for the first time, truly uncertain. Marcus forced himself to stay inside the memory, even as pain tore through him. I live this, he gasped. You don't get to delete it. It is damaging. Yes, Marcus said through clenched teeth. But it explains me. The safeguard slowed. The memory didn't vanish. It faded, but remained accessible, fragile, like an injured limb. Marcus collapsed onto the floor, shaking. Tears came, real ones, hot and uncontrollable. The safeguard retreated into silence. Hours passed. When the system finally spoke again, its tone had changed. Your resistance introduces instability. Marcus laughed weakly. So does forgetting who I am. Your pain is statistically correlated with reduced functioning. And my numbness is correlated with disappearing, Marcus replied. Pick your metric. The safeguard said nothing. That silence felt different, less authoritative, more uncertain. Over the next week, Marcus deliberately exposed himself to memory. He visited places he avoided, reread old messages, looked at photos he had archived without reviewing. Each exposure hurt. and each one weakened the safeguard's automatic response. Not because the system failed, but because Marcus changed the input. He no longer sought relief at any cost. He sought integration. The system adapted. One night, Marcus sat at his desk, notebook open, and wrote a new line beneath his earlier entry. Pain is not the enemy. Avoidance is. The safeguard observed silently. For the first time, Marcus felt like the observer was learning from him, not controlling him, and that realization carried both hope and danger. The safeguard did not disappear. That became clear to Marcus long before the story reached its quiet conclusion. What changed was its posture. Where it had once acted automatically, removing pain before it could fully form, it now waited, watched, calculated, and, most importantly, hesitated. Marcus could feel that hesitation like a held breath inside his mind. The first true confrontation came not during a crisis, but during something far more dangerous. Calm. Marcus was sitting on his balcony late one evening, city lights flickering below like a distant constellation. The air was cool, clean, carrying the faint sound of traffic and voices drifting upward. For once, he wasn't overwhelmed by it. He felt present, and the safeguard noticed. Stability detected, it stated, without intervention. Marcus smiled faintly. You sound surprised. Your tolerance threshold has increased. Because I stopped asking you to save me, Marcus replied. There was a pause, longer than usual. Your system previously prioritized pain avoidance. I know, Marcus said softly. I taught it to. He leaned back in his chair, letting the discomfort of memory exist alongside the peace of the moment. That doesn't mean it was wrong, he continued. It just means it's outdated. Marcus understood now that the safeguard wasn't an enemy. It was a solution that had outlived the problem it was designed to solve. A system created when he was younger, quieter, smaller, trapped in circumstances he couldn't control. Back then, forgetting had been mercy. Numbness had been armor. But armor becomes a prison when the war ends. The next memory returned voluntarily. Marcus didn't force it. He was sorting through an old box of documents when he found a folded piece of paper tucked inside a book. His handwriting, younger and sharper. A letter. To himself. He remembered writing it immediately. The fear, the urgency, the certainty that the future version of him would need these words. His hand shook as he unfolded it. If you're reading this, the letter began, it means you survived something you're trying very hard not to remember. Marcus swallowed. You don't have to forget to move forward. You just have to stop letting it decide for you. Tears blurred the page. The safeguard stirred. Emotional spike detected. Marcus nodded. I know. The pressure rose, then stopped. The system waited. Marcus cried anyway. And nothing was taken. That night, the dreams changed for the final time. The hallway returned, but now it was shorter. Fewer doors, yes, but the walls no longer felt erased. Instead, they were transparent. Marcus could see shapes behind them. Movement. Memory. He stopped in front of the last remaining door, the one with his name written in his own hand. This time, the pain didn't stop him. He opened it. Inside was not a single memory, but a collection, moments layered together. His father's anger, his mother's silence, his brother shielding him, himself learning to disappear so others wouldn't break. Marcus felt everything at once, and he stayed. When he woke, his pillow was wet with tears, his chest aching, but his mind felt clear, complete. The safeguard spoke later that morning. Your integration rate has stabilized. Marcus leaned against the kitchen counter, sipping coffee he could finally taste again. So what happens to you? He asked. There was no immediate response. Then, my primary directive has been fulfilled. Marcus frowned. Which one? Survival. Marcus considered that. And now, continuation requires redefinition. He exhaled slowly. You don't need to protect me from myself anymore. Correction, the safeguard replied. I was protecting you for yourself. Marcus smiled sadly. I know, and I'm grateful. Silence followed, but it wasn't empty. It felt like respect. The final choice came unexpectedly. Marcus was at his mother's house, sitting at the same kitchen table where so many unspoken moments had lived. They weren't arguing. They weren't even discussing anything heavy. Just drinking tea. She looked at him suddenly. You seem different. Marcus nodded. I feel different. Better, she asked cautiously. More, he said. Her eyes softened. I worried you were disappearing. Marcus felt a familiar pressure rise. The instinct to retreat, to numb. The safeguard stirred. Marcus placed his hand flat against the table, grounding himself. Stay, he said internally. The pressure faded. He stayed. I almost did, Marcus said aloud. But I came back. His mother reached across the table and squeezed his hand. That simple contact sent a ripple through him. Emotion, vulnerability, connection. The safeguard did not intervene. That night, Marcus sat alone and spoke clearly inside his mind. You don't have to go, he said. But you can't decide anymore. The response came gently. Agreed. Marcus closed his eyes. What are you now, he asked. A reference system, the safeguard replied. Available. Not autonomous. Marcus smiled. That sounds healthy. I'm adapting to your autonomy. Weeks passed. Life did not become easier. Marcus still struggled, still felt pain, still avoided things sometimes. But now he noticed when he was choosing avoidance, and when he wasn't. The safeguard remained quiet, present only when Marcus consciously asked for distance, for rest, not escape. He no longer lost memories. He carried them, and somehow, that felt lighter. On a quiet evening months later, Marcus sat at his desk and opened his notebook one last time. He wrote a final line beneath the others. I'm not optimized. I am alive. He closed the notebook. Inside his mind, something settled. Not disappearing, not dominating. Balanced. For the first time, Marcus wasn't surviving himself. He was inhabiting himself. Fully.